Awakening the Giant. The Arcturus colony was humanity's crowning achievement, our first successful settlement beyond the solar system. Magnificent domes stretched across the rocky landscape, housing nearly 80,000 colonists. Inside, lush gardens and flowing water created an oasis of Earth-like comfort on this distant world. Commander Elena Chen stood at the main observatory, admiring the azure rings that arced across the alien sky. Humanity had spent centuries dreaming of this moment, peaceful expansion into the stars, driven by curiosity and hope. The detection systems registered the unknown vessels 20 minutes before they appeared in orbit. The colonists were more fascinated than fearful. First contact had always been a possibility. The colony's diplomatic team prepared welcome messages in every human language and mathematical sequence they could devise. Elena, as head of security, maintained cautious protocols but shared in the excitement. This would be a historic day. The Araxian ships were breathtaking. Crystalline structures that seemed to bend light around their hulls, creating an ethereal glow that mesmerized observers. When their communication finally came, it was in perfect English, suggesting they had been observing humanity for some time. Humans of Arcturus colony, we are the Araxian Empire, stewards of this galactic sector. Your presence has been noted and evaluated. There was a pause, as if the aliens were considering their next words carefully. You have been judged unworthy of expansion. The first energy beam struck the colony's main power plant. The shields, designed more for environmental protection than military defense, collapsed instantly. The second beam carved through the central dome. Atmospheric venting alarms screamed throughout the colony as precious air rushed into the vacuum. Elena watched in horror as colonists were pulled into space, their bodies freezing instantly in the airless void. All security personnel to emergency stations. She shouted into her communicator, racing toward the command center. Initiate evacuation protocol Alpha. But it was already too late for most. The Araxian attack was methodical, targeting life support, power systems, and evacuation facilities first. Within 15 minutes, 70,000 colonists were dead. Elena managed to leave a small group of survivors to the subterranean emergency bunkers. From there, they watched through surviving camera feeds as the Araxians landed troops. Tall, insectoid beings with chitin armor that refracted light in hypnotic patterns. They're not interested in resources, whispered Dr. Keller, the colony's chief scientist. This is pest control. They're eliminating us because they consider us a potential threat. Elena made a decision. We need to get word back to Earth. This wasn't an isolated incident. They referred to themselves as an empire. Humanity needs to prepare. Using maintenance tunnels, Elena led a dozen survivors to the colony's auxiliary launch facility. A single courier ship remained intact, barely large enough for 3 people. Elena selected Dr. Keller and Maria Santos, the colony's eye specialist, to accompany her. The rest of you need to scatter, hide in the deep mines. Take whatever supplies you can carry. We'll send rescue as soon as possible. As the tiny ship broke atmosphere, Elena witnessed the true scale of the Araxian fleet, hundreds of vessels in perfect formation, some larger than anything humanity had ever built. Their ships' stealth systems, designed for scientific observation, now served a grimmer purpose as they slipped past the alien armada. The journey to Earth took 47 days. 47 days of nightmares, of watching the colony's final moments through salvaged footage. 47 days to contemplate humanity's new reality. We were not alone in the universe, and we were desperately, catastrophically outmatched. Earth received them with stunned silence. The United Earth Council, convened in emergency session, reviewed the evidence with growing horror. Humanity had barely established unity among its own nations. Now they faced an existential threat from the stars. They attacked without provocation, said Chairman Williams, his face ashen, without warning or attempt at negotiation. And they'll be coming here next, Elena replied. Their technology is centuries ahead of ours. Their ships can cross interstellar distances in days, not years. We have months at most before they reach Earth. The debate raged for days. Some advocated immediate surrender. Others suggested hiding, shutting down all transmissions and retreating underground. But in the end, humanity's oldest instinct prevailed: to fight. "If we're going to die," said General Zhao, "we die standing." Project Thunderforge began the next day. Every factory on Earth was converted to military production. The asteroid belt became a massive shipyard. The Martian colonies, once centers of scientific research, transformed into weapons development facilities. Humanity's greatest strength had always been its industrial capacity and adaptability. Now those qualities would be put to the ultimate test. Dr. Marcus Wade, a previously obscure engineer from Nigeria, emerged as the project's guiding genius. While the Araxians used crystalline technology that manipulated energy fields in ways humans barely understood, Wade focused on what humanity did best: brute force engineering and unconventional applications. "We can't match their tech directly," he explained to the Earth Defense Council. "So we don't try. We use what we have in ways they won't expect." Industrial mining lasers were converted into armor-penetrating weapons. Commercial satellites became improvised mines. Nuclear reactors were miniaturized into devastating torpedoes. The entire manufacturing capacity of Earth, Mars, and the Jovian moons, originally built to create comfort and convenience for billions, was redirected toward a single purpose: survival. Elena found herself promoted to admiral, commanding humanity's hastily assembled First Fleet. The vessels under her control were ugly, inelegant things compared to the Araxian ships: retrofitted cargo haulers with bolted-on weapon systems, mining platforms converted to carriers, even passenger liners transformed into hospital ships. "They're not pretty," she told her crew during their first system-wide drill, "but they're ours, and they'll fight as hard as we do." 3 months after Arcturus fell, long-range sensors detected an Araxian scouting force entering the Kuiper Belt. This wasn't their main fleet, just a reconnaissance element, 12 ships strong. But to humanity, it represented something precious: an opportunity. Elena's strategy was born of necessity. Human ships couldn't match Araxian vessels in direct combat, so they wouldn't try. Instead, the First Fleet hid among the asteroids and cometary debris. Passive sensors only, emissions dampened to near zero. "They think we're primitives," Elena told her captains. "They expect us to either run or attack head-on. We do neither." The Araxians moved through the outer solar system with casual arrogance, scanning planets and moons with powerful sensors that revealed every detail of human defenses, or rather, what they could detect of them. The bulk of humanity's forces remained hidden, scattered across 1,000 hiding places in the vastness of space. When the Araxian fleet reached Saturn, Elena gave the order. Dozens of converted mining ships, their enormous excavation lasers now weaponized, emerged from hiding within the planet's magnificent rings. They fired simultaneously, their industrial-grade beams, designed to cut through solid rock, carving into the crystalline hulls of the alien vessels. The Araxians, caught completely by surprise, lost 4 ships in the first volley. Their remaining vessels attempted to form a defensive pattern, but found themselves under attack from another direction as cargo ships, now carrying missile payloads, launched from Titan's shadow. All ships maintained Chaos Protocol. The Lina commanded from her flagship. Random attack vectors, no predictable patterns. The Araxian ships, for all their technological superiority, seemed oddly rigid in their tactics. They attempted to establish formation, to coordinate their defenses according to what must have been well-established military doctrine. But humanity's forces refused to engage on those terms, attacking from all directions in what appeared to be mindless frenzy, but was actually carefully orchestrated unpredictability. 3 hours later, the last Araxian scout ship attempted to flee. The Lina couldn't allow it. The main fleet needed to remain ignorant of humanity's preparations. A converted ice harvester, its massive collection scoop now filled with nuclear mines, intercepted the fleeing vessel and detonated its payload in a blinding flash that momentarily outshone Saturn itself. As the debris of the alien fleet drifted among the rings, Alina allowed herself a moment of grim satisfaction. The battle was won, but the war, the real war, hadn't even begun. The main Araxian armada would come soon, and it would come with the knowledge that humanity had teeth. "All ships, recover survivors and salvage everything," she ordered. "Every piece of their technology, every scrap of their ships. We have work to do." On Earth, as news of the victory spread, factories worked with renewed purpose. The first purpose-built warships began launching from the orbital shipyards, incorporating what little engineers had learned from recovered Araxian technology. Humanity had won its first battle against the stars, not through superior technology, but through the qualities that had always defined our species: resourcefulness, determination, and the absolute refusal to accept defeat. The sleeping giant had awakened, and the galaxy would soon learn what that truly meant. Vengeance of the underestimated. On the Araxian throne world of Calyx Prime, Supreme Commander Vexton received the news of the scouting fleet's destruction with initial disbelief, then dismissive irritation. Impossible, he chittered to his advisors, compound eyes flashing with annoyance. Primitive mammals cannot defeat Imperial vessels. The fleet commander must have made a catastrophic error. The intelligence minister, Zivra, was less certain. The data packet sent before communication loss shows unusual tactics. Supreme Commander, the humans did not engage as expected. They used unconventional methods. Irrelevant, Vextan waved a segmented limb. The main fleet will crush them like the insects they resemble. The irony of his statement was lost on the insectoid commander. Back on Earth, Dr. Marcus Wave stood before the United Earth Council, presenting his most ambitious creation yet. "We call it the Nexus Combat System," he explained, gesturing to the holographic display. "It's a neural network that links ship captains directly to their vessels and crews. Reaction times are reduced to milliseconds. More importantly, it creates a form of controlled chaos that the Araxians seem unable to effectively counter." The system was revolutionary and dangerous. It placed tremendous mental strain on the commanders, sometimes causing hallucinations or personality changes after extended use. But it provided a crucial edge in combat, allowing human forces to coordinate in ways that appeared completely random to outside observers. Admiral Elena Chen volunteered to be the first to undergo the Nexus integration. "The headaches are manageable," she reported after her first training session, despite the blood that had trickled from her nose. "And the tactical advantage is undeniable." As humanity prepared for the coming storm, they also went on the offensive. Small, fast attack groups ventured into neighboring star systems, striking at Araxian outposts and supply lines before disappearing. These hit-and-run tactics confused and frustrated the methodical aliens, who expected enemies to stand and fight in traditional engagements. The Araxian response was to dispatch hunter-killer groups, powerful vessels tasked with finding and eliminating the human raiders. But these groups, accustomed to overwhelming their opponents with superior technology, found themselves lured into asteroid fields where primitive but effective mines awaited, or ambushed by seemingly unarmed transport vessels that concealed devastating weapons behind false sensor signatures. "They don't understand deception," Elena observed during a strategy session. "Their technology has made them complacent. They expect enemies to behave according to established patterns, to fight with honor according to rules that benefit the technologically superior force. We don't play by those rules." The main Araxian armada arrived 6 months after the destruction of their scouts, a vast fleet of over 300 vessels, led by a colossal flagship that dwarfed anything humanity had built. They bypassed the outer system defenses, apparently having learned from their earlier defeat, and headed directly for Earth. Humanity was ready. The planet bristled with defenses, orbital platforms, atmospheric fighters, ground-based energy weapons. But these were merely the visible preparations. The true defense lay in the unconventional forces scattered throughout the system, and in the unprecedented industrial mobilization that had armed them. The Battle of Proxima Centauri began with an Araxian ultimatum: immediate surrender or total annihilation. Earth's response was a communication blackout, followed by the activation of thousands of autonomous drone ships that swarmed toward the alien fleet from all directions. The drones were sacrificial, simple missiles guided by basic AI. But they served their purpose, forcing the Araxians to expend energy and reveal their defensive capabilities. As the aliens efficiently destroyed the incoming threats, Alina's true forces moved into position. Nexus link active, she announced from her flagship, feeling the familiar pressure behind her eyes as her consciousness expanded to encompass her entire fleet. All battle groups, execute Hydra Protocol. What followed defied conventional military doctrine. Human ships attacked in patterns that seemed completely random, some charging directly at superior Araxian vessels, while others performed complex maneuvers that made no tactical sense until they did. Mining ships used their powerful excavation equipment to create debris fields that fouled the alien sensors. Cargo haulers dumped thousands of tons of reflective material, creating false targets that confused targeting systems. The Araxians attempted to form defensive formations, but found themselves unable to establish the geometric perfection their tactics required. And through it all, the Nexus system allowed human captains to coordinate with a speed and precision that belied their technological disadvantage. On the Araxian flagship, Supreme Commander Vextan watched in growing horror as his perfect formation disintegrated. "They fight like madness given form," he hissed to his subordinates. "There is no pattern, no honor. This is not warfare. It is chaos." But there was pattern in the chaos, a distinctly human pattern that prioritized survival and victory over tradition and honor. When an Araxian cruiser isolated a human destroyer, 3 cargo ships would sacrifice themselves to save it. When the aliens concentrated fire on a particularly troublesome human vessel, it would deliberately detonate its reactor, causing massive damage to nearby enemy ships. The battle raged for 2 days. Human casualties were enormous, over 60% of their fleet destroyed or disabled. But the Araxians, for all their technological superiority, had never faced an enemy that refused to fight according to established norms. Their losses mounted to unprecedented levels. Their formations broke apart under constant harassment from all directions. The turning point came when Alina's flagship, severely damaged and venting atmosphere, made a suicidal charge directly at the Araxian command vessel. It was a feint, one that drew the alien flagship's defensive fire away from a swarm of converted mining ships that approached from below the ecliptic plane. The mining vessels, their massive drills now pointed forward like spears, tore into the Araxian flagship's crystalline hull. They were not trying to destroy it. They were boarding it. Alina led the assault team personally, the Nexus system allowing her to coordinate hundreds of Marines simultaneously. The fighting inside the alien vessel was brutal and disorienting, the crystalline corridors branching in non-Euclidean patterns the human mind struggled to comprehend. But again, humanity's adaptability proved decisive. While Araxian defenders followed strict protocols for repelling boarders, human Marines improvised, using the ship's own structure against its defenders. Crystalline panels were shattered to create shrapnel traps. Environmental systems were hacked to flood sections with gases toxic to Araxian biology, but harmless to humans in sealed suits. Supreme Commander Vextan was captured in his command center, surrounded by the bodies of his honor guard. Alina stood before the alien leader, her armor scorched and dented, a crude neural disruptor pointed at his central nervous cluster. "You fight without honor," the Araxian leader accused, his translator converting the clicks, and "we fight to survive." Alina replied, "Honor is a luxury of the powerful. We use what works." The surrender of the Araxian flagship broke the alien fleet's will to fight. As news spread through their formations, ships began to retreat in disarray. The Battle of Proxima Centauri ended not with a decisive final engagement, but with the gradual dissolution of the once mighty armada. In the months that followed, humanity pushed into Araxian territory, using captured vessels and technology to enhance their own capabilities. The war entered a new phase, one where the technological gap began to close. Human engineers, studying salvaged Araxian systems, made breakthroughs that would have taken decades under peaceful conditions. The final confrontation came not in battle, but in diplomacy. The Araxian hierarchy, faced with an enemy that refused to behave according to galactic norms, agreed to peace negotiations. The terms were harsh but fair: recognition of human sovereignty, reparations for Arcturus, and knowledge exchange. Whistles into flat English. As the treaty was signed, an Araxian diplomat asked the question that had puzzled their species throughout the conflict. How did primitives defeat the most advanced empire in the sector? Admiral Elena Chen, still bearing the neural scars of the Nexus system, answered simply, "You thought technology makes a species powerful. We know that desperation, ingenuity, and the will to survive at any cost are the true sources of strength. You fought to conquer. We fought because we had no choice." The Araxian-human war changed the galactic order forever. Other species, long dominated by the crystalline empire, found inspiration in humanity's resistance. And humanity itself was transformed, catapulted centuries ahead in technological development, while retaining the qualities that had allowed them to survive: resourcefulness, adaptability, and the absolute refusal to accept defeat. As humanity rebuilt and expanded into the stars once more, they carried with them the lessons of the war, not just in technology, but in philosophy. The universe was vast and often hostile, but it had learned a crucial lesson: never underestimate the sleeping giant. For when awakened and threatened, humanity's war machine was a force that even the stars themselves would learn to fear.